What's up guys, so we're going to be ranking the best IEMs at around $50 and I'm going to do a quick review of the CRINCALE Bluetooths as well, so let's just get into it. For the best all-rounders, my recommendation would be the KZ Zenith, the Confined Clean, and the EPZ Q5 Pros. If you want something just very well balanced, very quote-unquote clean, even though it's not the clean, but it has good amount of bass, it has good treble extension, good vocals, and it has like a natural playback when it comes to staging. It's not like over boosted in the treble. If you're looking for like a cleanish all-rounder, then these would be a good pick. Whereas if you want something slightly warmer but still pretty smooth in the treble, that's where the clean would come in. It's still a very good all-rounder set, but it's just a little bit warmer versus the Zenith. And then if you want something that is a slight V-shape, this would be the EPZ Q5 Pro. This is like a mini version of the EM6L. It's not as smooth as the EM6L, but overall it has that similar kind of like slightly warm but slightly bright kind of sound signature. Those three would be a good option if you want an all-rounder set. Then as for the best value IEM at around $50, this is the CCA Trio. You can get these on sale for $20. They give you a lot of tuning options. It goes from like a balanced all-rounder Harman 2019 sound to a more like bassy, almost bass head. I wouldn't say quite bass head, but very bassy balanced all-rounder sound as well. It's kind of like the Bluetooth, but just like without the 10K peak and for $20. So value wise, these are very solid. Then as for vocals, we have the KZ Zenith again. If you want something that's just well balanced in both the male and the female vocals, the Zenith is a very solid option. And with the tuning switch, you can also make it slightly male focused as well. It's very natural timbre wise and overall great technicalities on top for the price of around like $50. On the other hand, if you want something that's cleaner, something sweeter for female vocals, I would recommend the EPZ Q1 Pros. These are basically just like a better version of the original 7Hz Zeros. Very clean with the vocals popping out more. It's a little bit more forward and less emphasized in the bass. If you're looking for bass, this wouldn't be the set, but if you want something that's very angelic for female vocals, give these a shot. And as for an honorable mention, we have the Lecture DZ4, which scales very well. The vocals are powerful, they're extended, they're very clean, they're very neutral, and you're not going to get a boost in the low end or the treble region, and you do need some juice to make these really sing, but when it does sing, they feel very immersive and just very enjoyable when it comes to vocals. Now as for warm and bassy sets, my recommendation here would be the Inawaken Dawn Iems as well as the Truth Deer Blue 02s. As for the Bluetooths, these are very fun when it comes to the sub bass. Like the original Zeros, they have that similar bouncy tight subwoofer like feeling, but the only difference is that you get more sub bass now versus the original Zeros, as well as you get more treble. Actually, you get a lot more treble, which is one of the main issues. But if you want just like a sub-bassy focused sound, versus the Reds, it's more scooped when it comes to mid-bass. The sub-bass is more emphasized. It's more energetic when it comes to both ends of the spectrum, low end and treble-wise. And overall, I think it addresses the main nitpick that some people had with the original Reds, which was it was a little bit bland, a little bit too vanilla. Now with the impedance adapter, the Bluetooth turns into a bass headset. It reminds me of a mini Punch, not as refined in the treble. Obviously, it's the peak is still there, but it is masked more from the extra bass, and overall the texture isn't going to be on the same level as the Punch, but for around $60, it's a very good bass head experience. However, as an all-rounder, the 02s fall short because of the 15K peak. It just gets a bit too sharp on certain songs like Model, like Yorushika, like Luna. Other all-rounders like the Zenith, the Clean, those would be actually better as an all-rounder because the treble is much smoother, as well as the EW300, which is also just much smoother in the treble overall, a little bit more detailed as well, whereas the Bluetooths would just be a fun sub-bassy kind of sound if you want to put them on at mid volume. These don't scale very well either, so I also wouldn't recommend the Bluetooths when it comes to vocals. The 50K peak plus the Harman 1 to 3K plus the scoop on top of everything, it just makes the vocal sound a bit thin, a bit scooped out, a little bit bright at times. So basically both in the stock configuration as well as with the impedance switch, the Bluetooths are a bassy kind of like fun kind of sound kind of set, good for sub bass and good as like a bass set. But beyond that, I wouldn't really recommend them from anything else. Again, there are just better all-rounder sets that have much smoother treble, so because of that reason, I'm gonna give it a half recommendation and a niche set when it comes to bass. Also, the nozzles are still huge, so fit wise, people with smaller ears, you're not going to be able to fit these probably. They're just like huge. Now, as for the Dawn M, these are a more mid-bass kind of sound. They're warmer, they're thicker, they have the body to it, but it still has like very good vocal extension and not too much treble. So pretty good overall, very good timbre as well, and it looks great plating wise. As for honorable mentions, we have the HBB Hades. If you want just the most bass possible, you don't really care about vocals, the vocals are completely gone, the treble is almost completely gone, you just care about the bass, then this would be the Hades. And then if you want something that's still very bass head sounding, but a little bit more vocals, a little bit more like treble, then that would be the KB or Ross Finch. And then lastly, if you want a very sub bass focused like bass head sound, a mini deuce basically for $50, get the Oisha E20 and EQ it. You can find the settings in my ranking list in the description. But moving on, we have the best neutral IEMs, and here we have the Tantrum for You in the down configuration, where it just kind of like takes out the low end and it doesn't get more monitor and neutral than this basically. As for an honorable mention, we have the 7Hz Sonnets. If you want a little bit more sub bass than the For You, but you still want a very clean, a very balanced and neutral like sound, these would be a good pick. Very cheap on sale, as well as the CRINCALE Reds in the stock configuration without the bass boost. If you want a slightly more sub bass sound versus the For You, both the Sonnets and the Reds would be a good honorable mention. Next, as for the best tuned planar at around $50, this is still the T10s. There are some other planars in the section as well, like the KZPRX, the SGOR, Luna, the PR3, but those just sound a bit too unnatural. It's a bit too bright. The treble boost is just a bit too much compared to the T10s. It sounds very planar-ish. It doesn't sound as refined, as smooth, and a little bit more sharp and peaky versus the T10s. So even though I'm beating a dead horse at this point, the T10 is just the best tuned planar at around $50 still. As for treble and detail, we have two options here. We have the Tangzu Yushuanji, which is very airy, spacious, very open, gives you that like light and dreamy kind of sound. Very unique for the price. I would definitely recommend it if you don't have something similar in your collection. And then if you want something more dynamic, more energetic, something brighter, then you have the Simga EW200. Lots of detail for the price, still a very good value pick overall. And for some honorable mentions, we have the planars like the KZPRX, the SGR Luna, which do have that treble boost. If you do want the most treble, you don't really care about the timbre, then those would be an option. Then lastly, for scaling, we have the Electra DZ4 as well as the RD R2s. These are more neutral and more vocal focused. They don't scale as well as the Explorer or the Chinos because those two just have less upper mid gain, less treble, and overall you can just crank those a lot more. But for $50, the DZ4 and the R2 on sale especially are a pretty solid option if you just want like turn shit up. Anyhow, I hope you guys found this guide helpful. Again, a half recommendation to the Bluetooths. They're very fun when it comes to like a bass head sound with the impedance and just like a subwoofer, sub-bassy sound with the stock configuration. But beyond that, I wouldn't recommend them as an all-rounder because the treble is a bit much, the vocals are like a bit thinned out, a bit scooped out, and also a little bit bright leaning as well. It's also pushing it in terms of the price because the EW300 is also like $60 on sale, $65, putting it at around the same range but with much smoother treble. But aside from that, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Shout out to Dom Q, Rarix Cat, Mystic Spoon Attack, B. Urak, Discus Goddess, Walker Standard, Patrick, User, Mr. Gorillas, Polly J, Anton Risto, Gis Sang Young, Christopher Jackson, Name, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, Obi, Wizard, Frickalicious, Tapas Art, Contain Guava Juice Gains, Xuan Bakle, Forever New, Chuckle Norris, FKSRG, Oh Really, AMC4, Treble Well Extended, and 777ZK. Thank you guys so much.